Here now is Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells with Talk to Tom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talk to Tom. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells, and this is my show. We do it every Thursday afternoon between 5:30 and 6 right here on the powerful WKMG, and we stream it worldwide all the time on News 6 Plus. You can see it anywhere in the world. Just download our streaming and check it out. I have an entire staff of people here to help me out doing the weather. One of those people is Samara Cokinos. And today, you're going to meet Samara up close and personal. Samara's been working with us here for how many years, Samara? 5 or 6?
6.
6, actually. Okay. But what we never talk about, hardly ever talk about on TV, that you and I both know very well, is that Samara was an intern here at WKMG. So she's not only part of the team, not only part of the family. I've known her now since the summer of 2012. Way before she was ever introduced to Central Florida on TV. So let's go back. Samara, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. And
Thanks
I'm glad you're part of the team. Hey, all right. We're going to talk a lot.
Happy to be part of your team.
Yeah, you say that now. Wait till this show is over. We actually started knowing each other in the summer of 2012. It was a strange summer in that you started as an intern. I met you once, and then you went away for about 6 weeks, and then you came back. And did your internship. So let's talk about that. Your story on starting out. How important is it for kids to have internships? And there's a lot of debate now about whether people should be working in person. I think the in-person stuff and the in-person internship changed your life, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will never forget. Let me just start from the beginning. My first day here as an intern, I was actually just talking to Julie about this just a couple of days ago. Alex and I were interns together here that summer with you. And the first day that we walk into the building, Julie had just left for the day and Tom was taking over, and there was a tornado warning, and Tom is like, go get Julie, to do team coverage.
I did.
And you sent, we were like, okay, as interns, we're like, how do we get out of the building? Literally the first day.
Wow.
And we're trying to figure out our way out of the building. We finally get out of the building, and Julie's pulling off in her car, and we're like,
she's just waving.
Wait. She's like, hi. We're
Love
like,
the
no.
interns.
Yeah. She thought, we were just kind of crazy to be there, but it was just really funny. And that's just something that stuck with me because, you see everything happening, on the television, but you don't see what's happening behind. And to know that was my first day. And I'll tell you what, there have been plenty of those opportunities throughout my news career where I've been running around the building. So
boom.
I think it prepped me.
Warning goes off. Panic
Running.
ensues. Let's go. Let's get this show on the road. Panic ensues.
Yeah.
And you start yelling for people to help. So yes, I was yelling for Julie to help us out. Let's talk about the internship. You came in, you learned how to do weather, you already knew maps. You went to Embry-Riddle University over in Daytona Beach, right? And so you
The
made
Harvard of the skies, as we like to call ourselves.
That's ridiculous. I've never heard that. Is that true? They actually say that?
I mean, we don't, it's not like an official logo or anything, but
I'm embarrassed for you. I really am. I can't believe you guys actually.
Some of us can't go to Harvard, okay?
Wow. I didn't go to Harvard. Hey, let's talk about, you did learn how to do TV, though. We taught you how to actually perform better. You got up in front of the chroma key wall. We made what we used to call the reel, or the tape. It's now just the reel, to where you guys were able to apply for jobs. And so you took that reel, and what'd you do with it? Where'd you go?
After I spent countless nights putting the tape together, I actually ended up in deep South Texas, where the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
Yep.
And I was in the Brownsville market for my first job. I'll never forget getting that phone call to interview with Tim Smith, who is still the chief meteorologist at Channel 5 in the RGV. I worked for KRGV for 4.5 years, but I was able to interview with him and solidify position 6 months before I even graduated. So that's what internships do for you. They teach you so many things, how to be yourself on air, which, a class, I only took 2 classes. I'm actually an aviation meteorology major. So having that interaction and watching Tom daily do his job really was setting me up for really good things when I went into my first career. it wasn't as difficult as I can imagine it probably is for those who don't get that experience.
Right. No, I know Tim. We were not
Yes.
friends before. We're big buds now. I see him at conferences and we talk, and I'm even in his football pool. You got me
Yes.
into that. It's really
Yes.
weird that you went from TS, Tom Sorrells, to TS, Tim Smith. And so
Yeah.
when you went down to Texas, you called him Tom for like the first year.
I did. And then when I came back home,
Called me
I'm
Tim
sitting
every
there-
day.
Yeah, exactly. When I left my internship, I thought, man, I hope I get a boss like Tom. And I go and I get Tim, and he's amazing,
He's a
and
good
you
dude.
never know where your second career, where your second jump in news is going to be, and mine happened to be back
Good.
here.
We had an opening on the weekends and people were applying. And I did not call you because the last time I talked to you, you had just
Just
resigned.
resigned.
And I was like, no, Samara can't come home. We can't get her. She just resigned. So tell people how that all worked out. How did you get back to working with us here at KMG?
It was so funny. I actually had another interview in Huntsville, Alabama, and
With Brad.
with Brad. Yeah, exactly.
Another
And
good dude.
Great guy. Great guy. But I had an interview, and I called Bob Kotek because I was a production intern in addition to a weather intern, and Bob Kotek was my direct manager for that. So I used him as a personal. I asked him if it would be all right if I used him as a personal reference, and when I called, he said, "You don't want the gig here?" And I was like, "What gig?" What do you mean? And when I had last spoken to you, I just resigned for weekday mornings, which I did. And then, I didn't have any outs, but my news director at the time, Jenny Martinez, said, if it's for Florida or
She'd let
closer
you
to home for you, she'd let me go.
Wow.
And I thought that was really gracious of her to do that. I wasn't going to benefit her November book anyway, but
Too funny. And so from my end of the story, I was always offended that you called Bob and not me to inquire about the job. I'm like, why in the world would she not call me? Until, you put that all together that you called Bob.
I already
Because
knew
he
I
was-
could use you as a reference.
Yeah, but you didn't call and say, hey, you have an opening. Let me know. Because I would have. But here's
Didn't
what
even
happened.
know.
I'm at the AMS conference in Kansas City, Missouri, and I get the call from the news director, and she's naming off people. We've got this one apply, this one apply, this one apply, this one apply, and someone named Samu. I said, "Are you trying to say Samara?" And she said, "Yes, that's her. She used to intern here." And I went, "Right. If I could get Samara, that's who I want. But she's not available." And she goes, no, she's available. So you would like her? I said, yes, that's the one I want. And she said, well, I'll put her in the list. I can't tell you we're going to hire her for sure, but I'll put her in the short list. So that's how that all came to fruition.
No, you didn't tell them about when you called my phone. You did. What do you mean? You have an out? You have an out? Why didn't you tell me you have an
Why
out?
didn't you tell me
I didn't
you
know you had an out.
Should have told me.
I-
Should have told me. I could have made magic
and I'm
happen
like,
earlier.
oh, I'm telling you, I have an out.
All right, let's talk about how because this is an interesting story. We've got about another minute here, minute and a half. Let's talk about what got you interested in meteorology at an early age, because that's great too. Go.
I was 8 years old and career day. I'm a career day kid. Danny Trainer came to my school in Pearson, Florida. Pearson Elementary, Danny Trainer. And it was hard to get anybody to come out, to Pearson. It's way out there, right? In Volusia County, beyond DeLand. And he came out, and I just thought he was the coolest thing,
He is.
and everything that he talked about was just so interesting to me. And I went home that day and I told my mom and dad I wanted to be just like him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, lo and behold,
Here we
it
are.
only took 30 years, but you
It
ended
only
up
took
something like that. It only took 30 years. We ended up having Danny Trainer and Samara on staff here at KMG, and you actually covered hurricanes, worked together, did
Yeah.
thunderstorms. You got to work.
I was
with
such
your-
a fangirl. I was
with your
like,
idol.
to have it, to go through that moment of where you find somebody who inspires you to do something with your life, and then to see them throughout their iconic career, and then you're going about your own, and then you get to work with them. Come on.
That's great. And then one last question. We got to go. You recruited our friend Michelle Morgan, who just started. You
Yes, I
actually
did.
led her here. So Danny led
Yeah.
you to your career. I drew you back here, and then you blew up and drew
I
Michelle.
reeled
in.
her in. How often can you say that you get to work with somebody you knew prior to news for
Right.
like a decade at the same station in,
awesome.
in a market like Orlando? I'm really happy to have her here. We went to college together. She's one of my favorite people, and adore her.
It's all
I adore
working
you
out.
too, Tom.
You say that to all the boys.
Hey,
Stop
you
it.
are-
Stop it. Stop it. Okay. Hey, you do a lot for the weather team. That's true. You also do a pretty cool podcast here at News 6. We're going to talk about that and more in your musical interest after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second half of Talk to Tom. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells. Thank you for sticking with us. We have on with us our friend Samara Cokinos. She's one of the great players here at the powerful KMG. Earlier, we talked about how Sam got here. She's from Pearson. She did an internship here at KMG. She went to South Texas. If you want to go back and see that, just go to News 6 Plus and stream it, and you can see the entire first half of the show. Let's talk about something else you do, Sam. You not only do weather, you also have a podcast. It's called Riff on This. Talk to me about what prompted you to do that.
You know, there was a couple times where I'd had these really cool stories about, friends and I was like, how do I get this story, on news somehow? Or, somebody needs to hear this story. There's stories behind the music are always so interesting to hear from the artist perspective or the producer, the DJ, whatever they are, even the studio, manager at some point. So, I was talking to, it was Donovan and yourself, actually. And Donovan was like, that'd make a great podcast. And then I walked into the studio and I was like, hey, Tom, what do you think about this? And you're like, oh, I love it. That's going to be great. And you should go and, pitch that to our news director, Allison. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you really think so? You think she's good? Because I'd been looking for something to kind of fill a little bit more of my role here. I saw so many people doing these things and I thought, oh, what could I do, And music is something that I've always loved. I owned an entertainment company for a while, so there was always that factor too. So, and my childhood, we, grew up around music. So knowing all the people that I knew and putting that pitch together and then walking in and Allison going, I love it.
That's awesome.
I was like, this is going to be great. And it's been amazing. It's been so much fun.
Good. All right. Well, let's talk about the show. It can be downloaded anywhere you download your favorite podcast. So it's worldwide as well. Tell me about your favorite episode. What's the best show you've done?
You know what? There's so many. Honestly, I can't say one for sure. There are a few that stick out to me, though. My first one was DJ Livewire. He was my very first interview. The reason why that one, and a lot of these people are my personal friends, but he was my first episode to air. And we had so many friend moments in that I feel like it kept the true to the element of being real and vulnerable on the podcast. And that's something that is unique. And I don't think that, everybody, you have to have something unique to shine in podcasting because it's super busy. It's very lucrative business to be in. So I was like, man, the fact that these people personally know me and I know them, it adds that extra element to that fly on the wall listening in on our conversation. Another one was Smiles and South Star. Those two are a riot. They're hysterical. We laughed a lot on that episode, but I mean, they are just really iconic here in Orlando.
Okay, that was my next question. You did a throwback episode featuring Smiles and South Star.
I got them together.
I've never heard of them. I don't. Okay, what does that mean? I got them together. Did they used to be a duo? And
yes, they were a
Okay.
group. The two of them, they were a duo, and they did everything together. And then they left the industry, and one works in real estate, and the other one does mortgages, which go hand in hand together. But they're two businesses, and their schedules are so difficult to schedule that you don't see them out and about together too much anymore. In hip hop and in pop culture, they're very well known here. I mean, they go anywhere and they're like, oh my goodness, they'll announce on the microphone, whoever the DJ is will be like, oh my goodness, Smiles and South Stars in the building. So when I got them together on the episode, it was like, oh man, this is going to be great. It's going to be legendary. And the two, their chemistry together is just amazing. I mean, they are truly brothers, not biologically, but you could tell that they really still love their friendship together. So really cool guys, and they had some really great hits and a really cool story too.
Okay, my favorite one you did, of course, was Mark Dawson, who's the lead singer of the Grassroots.
Yes,
I love that guy. I loved him.
He's amazing.
But yeah, he's awesome. And I knew him before he was with the Grassroots. I watched him join that group with their lead singer, backing him up and then take over when Rob Grill died. Mark became the guy, became the lead singer for the Grassroots. He had a fabulous story, and your podcast with him was awesome, and it did pretty well, right?
Yeah, it did very well. And then the funny part was, right after Mark, I got to interview one of the founding members, the drummer for Foghat.
Oh, there you go.
Roger Earl. And then I did Brian Bassett, who is also just amazing. He plays the slide guitar for Foghat, as well as he was on Wild Cherries, play the funky music, right? So, but the cool part was, Mark calls me and he's like, I'm going to be playing on this cruise, this rock and roll cruise with them, and I've never met them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to love them. You're going to love them. Linda and Roger and just everybody. Scott Holt is the new singer. You're going to love them. And they met and they jammed out, and they all loved each other. So to see everything kind of just come together like that, Mark is such an amazing guy, such a cool vibe with him. He was so much fun. You got to go check out that episode. Shameless plug.
And so the whole thing of it is, riff on this, you're talking about hip hop with Smiles and South Star. You're talking 70s, late 60s, early 70s pop music with Grassroots. 1974 Slow Ride. 75 Foghat. So you're doing all genres. You do everything.
All genres. Yeah, we're very. I wanted it to be all genres, just because you can't say that Orlando is one type of music, or Florida or Central Florida is one type of music. This is a melting pot for music. So to be able to cover all of these different genres is really fun. Plus, I'm eclectic in nature when it comes to music. I love all different kinds of music myself. Upcoming episodes, I have Orlando Philharmonic is on there.
Oh, really?
So I went there. I love it.
Awesome.
I also just did Dance Hall with Willie Chin, who I've been listening to for probably 18 years now. So it's really cool, and I hope people get exposed to different genres and maybe try out listening to them and end up maybe liking them. Maybe not. You never know. I'm a big blues fan.
When do your episodes drop? When should people start looking for them?
Thursday. So it's like twice a month, or every other Thursday.
Okay.
And yeah, there's usually an article. You'll see if you're on my Instagram or on my Facebook, you'll see me making reels on reels on reels with these people, because I think it's the fun aspect of it too. It allows me to be creative and making these different posts to promote a lot of these podcast episodes. So you guys will know definitely. And there's always an article, and it's on ClickOr. So
you've knocked out some pretty big people, but there's about to be someone you want the get. And I don't mean, I want Taylor Swift. I mean, realistically speaking,
I'm really not a Swiftie. That's the second time somebody has said that.
But I mean, I was just being facetious. We can't reach her. But, and that's silly. I want, Taylor Swift. Now, who do you want? Who you after? Who are you trying to get? Well, who would you like to sit down with?
Oh man, who would I not like to sit down with? Oh man, that's a good. You got me.
Seriously? You don't have any?
Yeah, you really.
People in particulars?
There's just so many. I mean, I've been working a lot with Billy Chapin. He's a real good friend of the family, so I've been trying to get him on the show. Billy, come on,
who's Billy Chapin? Tell us, who is that?
He's a producer. He's a producer that actually put me in contact with Foghat.
Oh, okay.
So, but he used to work for my dad in the late 70s. So, and by the way, that's another episode, because I'm not getting in trouble here. Loved my dad's episode. That was a lot of fun. Seriously. No, he was great. We talked about his music store.
I would say he had a music store.
Yeah,
he was a big
Daytona.
guitarist as well. Okay.
Yes, he was. So,
all right.
I would say Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. That would be great. Fantastic. Put it out there. Put them out in the universe.
If we could get them on Zoom, maybe, from California.
You have to come out here. I mean, come on.
Oh, you could do her on Zoom. She would do Zoom, maybe.
Everything's in person for me.
I don't know, man. If you get Pat Benatar, I think you take it any way you can get it.
I think I would. I think you're right.
Yeah. We'll do it on Zoom. We'll do it on the phone. We'll fly out to her. We'll do whatever. The only thing is, if you get Pat Benatar and Neil, I have to be invited.
Absolutely. Well, my dad used to play guitar with Neil.
I heard
so
the
they're
episode.
friends.
I heard the episode. All right, we are out of time, Samara. Samara Cokinos doing weekend weather here at the Powerful KMG every Saturday, every Sunday. You can catch her, and you can catch her anytime on your podcast player on Riff on This. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Appreciate you for bringing me here.
My pleasure.
Literally.
You've been a big help. And thank you at home for watching Talk to Tom every Thursday between 5:30 and 6. Please submit your questions to clickorlando.com/talk to Tom. We'll answer any question you have. And you can always stream us on News 6 Plus. Peace.